Why were the Al Bhed so hated in Final Fantasy X? It's a question that lingers beneath the surface of the game's sweeping narrative. Why would a society known for innovation, resourcefulness, and compassion be so universally shunned?
Don't go near Al Bhed anymore, okay? They're trouble.
The answer, like much of Final Fantasy X, lies in the complex relationship between faith, fear, and the cycle of sacrifice that governs the world. So, we'll explore the roots of this prejudice, from the Al Bhed's defiance of Yevon's teachings to their role as cultural outsiders. But as we dig deeper, another question emerges. Were the Al Bhed truly heretics, or were they the only ones brave enough to break the cycle? The Al Bhed are a distinct ethnic group in the world of Spira. They're immediately recognizable by their spiral-shaped green eyes and their use of a unique language, one that sounds unintelligible to others, gibberish basically, unless translated. But their differences run far deeper than appearance or speech. Culturally, the Al Bhed stand in stark contrast and opposition to the rest of Spira.
That's not good enough. Yevon says this, Yevon says that. Can't you think for yourself?
Well, then you tell me. Where did sin come from, huh?
I don't know.
While the majority of the world follows the teachings of Yevon, embracing a deeply religious, ritualistic lifestyle that denounces advanced technology, the Al Bhed embrace machina. They live on the fringes of society in the harsh deserts, salvaging ancient machines, building airships, and maintaining a lifestyle grounded in practicality rather than prayer. What makes them even more controversial is that they openly reject the teachings of Yevon. The ideological defiance alone is enough to paint them as enemies in the eyes of the devout. If your entire society followed a religion that asks for blood sacrifices, would you have the courage to stand apart from it? It's easy to say yes, unless you are actually in that situation. And to understand why the Al Bhed are so hated, we have to understand the world that they live in. Spira is defined by the presence of sin, a massive city-destroying creature that terrorizes the world and reappears no matter how many times it's defeated. The teachings of Yevon provide structure, answers, and most importantly, a reason for sin's existence. Followers believe that sin is a punishment for mankind's over-reliance on machina or technologia, and that atonement can only come through prayer, humility, and sacrifice, culminating in a summoner giving their life to temporarily defeat sin with the final summoning.
Sin came, and it destroyed the cities and their machina. The war ended, and our reward was sin.
Yevon isn't just religion. It's government, it's law, and culture rolled into one. A theocracy with total ideological control. And in this system, the Al Bhed's refusal to follow the script is seen as more than just straight up disrespect. It's a threat to societal stability. They're painted as blasphemers, heretics, a dangerous influence that must be kept in check, if not eliminated entirely. Because the church controls the flow of knowledge, very few people even stop to question if what they've been told is true. The hate against the Al Bhed isn't casual, it's ingrained and cultural. You see it early in the game through Waka, everybody's lovable and loyal friend, who nonetheless spews anti-Al Bhed rhetoric with surprising ease. For him, it's not personal, really. It's just what he's been raised to believe, and that's the key.
We have to atone to make up for the sins we have committed. Of course. It's not like I ever liked Maester Seymour, yeah? No way I'll ever forgive him for killing Lord Jiskel. And for trying to do us all in two, you know? But still, the bunch of us going against Yevon? No way!
The hatred isn't just taught, it's very normalized. This prejudice goes beyond passive discrimination. It manifests as exclusion, violence, and even systemic erasure. Al Bhed are denied access to key parts of society, Yuna's mixed heritage, being half Al Bhed herself, is kept secret to preserve her legitimacy as a summoner. Tragically, when the Al Bhed stronghold known as Home is attacked and destroyed by Yevon aligned forces, it's not seen as an atrocity, it's framed as divine justice. So let me ask you this. Can a society truly be free if questioning authority is treated as a crime? Let me know. So, what exactly did the Al Bhed do that was so offensive? They saved people. Specifically, they tried to kidnap summoners before they could complete the final summoning. A desperate last-ditch effort to end the sacrificial cycle. To outsiders, these acts looked cruel and selfish, but the truth was far more tragic. The Al Bhed knew that every summoner was walking toward death, and they were the only ones willing to intervene. Throughout the game, we see the Al Bhed as inventors, rescuers, and protectors. They're the ones who build the airships that fly the party around. They're the ones who give Riku a reason to fight, and they're the only ones who consistently question the cost of Yevon's version of peace. They aren't perfect. Sid is brash, and their methods can be very aggressive. They refuse to let religion demand the lives of the young for a false salvation. By the time Tidus and Yuna begin questioning the system, the Al Bhed have already been living in that doubt for generations. And as the narrative unfolds, the cracks in Yevon's teachings begin to show. Sin always returns. The final summoning is a lie. The church itself is corrupt, with maesters who preach sacrifice but fear death. And in that moment of revelation, something becomes clear. The Al Bhed were right all along. They saw through the illusion. They rejected the endless cycle of sacrifice, not out of selfishness, but out of love. Love for life, for freedom, and for the possibility of a world not dictated by fear. And yet, they were hated. Hatred tells us everything we need to know about how power maintains itself. The Al Bhed were dangerous not because they had weapons, or machina, or technologia, but because they had truth, really. And in Spira, truth is the greatest threat of all. If the Al Bhed had been listened to sooner, think of how many lives could have been spared.
I always thought that this would be easier somehow. I thought that everyone would help me, with all my friends together beside me. I've been trying so hard.
The hatred of the Al Bhed wasn't just about machina, it was about control. The need to preserve a belief system that made suffering feel meaningful, and there is something to that, even if that meaning was built on lies. And in rejecting that, the Al Bhed paid the price. They lost their home, their people, their dignity. But in the end, they held on to something far more powerful: conviction. So maybe the question isn't, why were the Al Bhed so hated? Maybe the real question is, would you have had the courage to stand with them? All right, thank you guys for listening and watching, and I appreciate it. And if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe, because I'm always thinking of great video topics about RPGs right before I fall asleep. And this is one that I had a couple nights ago. So would you have stood with the Al Bhed? It's a tough question. It really is. You know, I know a lot of people are probably going to draw some conclusions between this and real life, and I won't stop you. I'm just going to say, for me personally, I never like to parallel fiction with nonfiction, because real life is just so much more nuanced, and there's so many thousands and millions of more variables in real life than just in a constructed video game world. But thank you again for watching. Have an amazing day, and God bless, and God bless technology.